What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Cheeky Midweeky, where we are making strength and conditioning not boring anymore. And in today's episode, I am joined by Trent Luecke from TeamBuildr OS. Wondering what that is? Well, that episode is going to explain everything that you need to know about TeamBuildr OS and those working in the private setting, how it will help you be able to understand when you're going to schedule your athletes, collect payments, and all of the things. That's what you're going to learn about inside this episode. Trent worked in the private sector and is now helping coaches scale their business and be able to train and get more athletes inside the building, and he's going to be able to draw upon his experience doing this. Before we get into the episode, please hit that like and subscribe button. It costs you $0 and 0 cents, but it helps the show grow so we can reach more coaches and reach more athletes. 2026 ends the 3-year current CEU cycle for the NSCA. Do not wait until December 31st, 2026 to get your CEUs submitted to the NSCA. Get it taken care of now with an annual membership to Strength Coach Network, where you will get access to Performance Coaching 101, 102, 103, with each course giving you access to 2.0 NSCA CEUs. If you also need CSCCA CEUs, those same courses come with 10 CEUs to the CSCCA. If you need CEUs to the NSCA, CSCCA, you need help getting reinstated by going through all the process for the CSCCA from last year, or you want to just make sure you knock out everything for the NSCA with this year, 2026, being a reporting period, please reach out to us at service@strengthcoachnetwork.com. We will get you taken care of. We'll help you get everything lined up so you can keep your certification and you don't have to worry about anything other than coaching your athletes. Again, you can click the link down below for more information or email us at service@strengthcoachnetwork.com.
Therapy, not rehab.
This is gym owners. You got to do it, dude. You got to do it.
I mean,
Gotta get it
welcome
out.
to the Cheeky Midweek, everybody, where I was venting to Trent, and he was being my therapist for the last 15 minutes.
Solve the problems of the world. We're good now.
Yeah, let's talk private sector strength and conditioning. So most of our listeners out there, I'd say 99.9% of them know TeamBuildr, but since I've had somebody from TeamBuildr on, there's been TeamBuildr Practice, TeamBuildr OS, like TeamBuildr continues to grow. So Trent, let's talk about OS. Let's talk about the private sector.
Let's do it, man. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the fact that you've lived on both sides, like you've talked, coaching, owning. I mean, shoot, we talked about it with that kid that I was talking off air, like working in that, whether our listeners are college, high school, private, tactical, college, high school, pro, and tactical that could potentially go into the private sector world. But when they do that, even like, because I got a bunch of coaches right now that have been telling me how great their switch from college to tactical was because they're working with people that care more. It fits the 4 Ps better. But not a lot of them talk about going from those 4 into private. And I think it's because it scares them. They like the idea of it, but it scares them to go from what I said off air of that consistent paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest misconception about the private sector that coaches don't know?
It's funny because, I read that question and it was like, I almost had the opposite minimal experience or expectation of like, maybe it's hyper specific to maybe training in general, right? Like if I'm a sport athlete and I'm like, I've always been really good. I never, like, the weight room didn't matter. I didn't need to run sprint intervals because I was already a 4 or 5 guy. Like the weight room, like working with me was a pain. And so when the private sector, I was like, oh, well, now I've got people paying me to be here. The buy-in should be high. Not always the case. Sadly, it's not always the case. Like sometimes it's it depends on who you work with. But if it's a kid and it's the parent, they just want to say that they pay to have their kid go train, and that's so cool. Get to brag, keep up with the Joneses type stuff, or it's an adult, which is almost worse because it's like, bro, you drove yourself here. I charge your debit card earlier today, and now you're bitching to me about the workout. I'm like, okay, I don't know how to square this to you, man. Like, you don't have to be here. Like, I don't want your money if you don't want to enjoy this. So yeah, that would probably be where I would say it's like, just because someone's paying you doesn't mean there's buy-in. Because again, my lens is a bit different. It's maybe just the bad apples that stuck out in my head of like, I don't need this crap. The weight room's stupid. I just need to play football at insert sport. I'm like, okay, sure.
What part of those then that worked in the team sport do you think can work well? So anybody's listening, they're like, all right, I work there now, high school, college, tactical. What can translate well to the private setting?
Man, though, what I would say is, I don't have like a good word for this, but like, I have to be careful. Like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Like the flow of human movement within a session. So when I first started my private facility, I worked with exclusively adults, and that's easy because like adults, we're not doing, it's basically like, you do a lift, maybe a little conditioning circuit. Like there's not a lot of movement going on. And also hopefully like a 30-year-old, you can just be like, cool, here's your thing. I'm going to walk away for 10 minutes. And then when I can work with someone else, when I come back, you'll be done and we'll move on. If you start working with kids, different beast, right? There's got to be engaging. There has to be kind of a sequence that makes sense. Like even like little things like, all right, we're going to do 5-10-5s. Okay. We're going to line up here or line up behind me. Next guy comes up. You start facing me. When you're done, you walk like little things like that. You don't think about when you're just like, yeah, no, this is easy. But then just like managing the flow of people, being very clear about your instructions. I think that is something that translates massively to up the private sector, because a well-run, well-conducted session is something that I think most members of a private gym probably are like, they're just used to crap. And when they go to a well-run one, they're like, oh, this is what this is like.
So two things off of that. That was part of the course that we were talking off air that Grace and I were talking about, and then Rachel helped put together. It was the whole premise of it is like the unwritten rules of strength conditioning, what you don't learn in there. And that was one of the things that I talked about from my experience at Harvard, Iowa, and Maryland, which I then applied at Towson. So the Harvard experience and the Maryland experience was Drew Wilson, who's now with the Giants. He called it being a shark. And he's like, you should always be a shark, right? Moving in the water, essentially, like always got something going on. And at Harvard, they kind of used it as the analogy of like, you're the shepherd. You're making sure that everything inside like your perimeter, you're going around the perimeter, making sure that everybody's moving on the inside and doing what they're supposed to do. And like, okay, yeah, I 100% agree with that. Like you're flowing and making sure that they're flowing inside of that. And then at Iowa, it was like, hey, set the weight room up. Make sure things are set. Like, okay, if you're going to be doing hang power clean in your A block and you're pairing it with a Kaiser movement and a groin movement, have the rack set to the hang clean height. Have the Kaisers with the attachments. Have the AirX pad there. If the B block is bench press and you're on a full cage rack, make sure that you got the J hook set to the bench press height. Push the bench in. Like all those little things to get the session functioning and flowing. And you're right. If you can do that in the private setting too, like now people are completely dialed in. And anybody listening to that, if maybe that was the first time you've heard it, do it in the high school, do it in the college, do it wherever you're at. Because when you do it, your athletes realize like, oh shit, Trent's dialed in. Like he's ready to go. Yep. I better be ready to go. Because in the same vein, if Trent's the coach and I'm the athlete, I'll be like, Trent can demand the most out of me because damn it, he did his homework.
Correct. Yep. And I think also too, the other like layer to that is, this probably is not applicable at all levels, but if you're, college or semi-pro or pro, like if you're in a weight room, you'd be hard pressed to be working with an athlete who had never stepped foot in a weight room before, right? They at least know some of the rules and like understand like what a barbell is. When you're working with adults or maybe a 12-year-old who's never trained before, if you make any assumptions that they understand what something is or where something is, or the AirX pad, perfect example. Maybe we're doing, like a half kneeling thing. My crotchety old adults, you got to have AirX pads for those knees, myself included. Like if you don't have that out, like they may not know that where those even are, that they even need them, like what the perk of that might be. Like this little things like that, I think it seems like a funny thing to say, like that transfers really well, but it is a pretty large part of your service.
What doesn't translate well, because I'll chime in on one thing. Being the absolute psychopath that most people working in college strength conditioning are, they don't understand how to calm the heck down, because most of the time, I mean, for me, I was bastardized, and I had like some traumatic
Correct. The get back coach. Yeah.
Like you're the get back coach, but also like, I mean, you're having nightmares because the ladders weren't, all the little buttons were up the right way, or hey, I told you to walk 3 yards off the hash and put the cone down.
Yeah.
You didn't do it. You clearly don't give a damn.
TeamBuildr is Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for online software for strength coaches. It does not matter what sector of strength and conditioning you work in, you want to get TeamBuildr because you will be able to program for your athletes, simply distribute the training to them, and make changes, modifications, whatever you need. I've been utilizing them since 2019 when I was back at Towson. I still use it in person at Goldfinch with all my remote clients throughout the country, and in person at the high school, Centennial High, right down the road when I was volunteering for them. You got to check out TeamBuildr in the link down below. The people that work for them are former strength and conditioning coaches, so they get it. They are able to help you with all of your needs. Again, reach out to your TeamBuildr rep and learn more about them in the link down below.
And it's
exactly.
It ain't that. First of all, like,
you
should have never been like that in that world.
Correct.
But that's really not going to translate well in the private setting. And from everybody that I've interviewed on the show, it don't translate in TSAC, because you're dealing with grown men. And actually, so I just talked with a coach that left college to go tactical, and he's like, yeah, I'm excited. And when I was talking, he was talking to Drew again, and Drew's like, yeah, Drew was saying, when I'm working in the pros, like, you can't just be barking, or like, it's not that way. You have to be peers with them. So I know for a fact, if you're going from college to private, you got to take it down a couple notches.
Yeah, the whole like how you do anything is how you do everything, bro. Forget that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Dumb saying, but also just if you think it now, forget it. I would say the thing that came to mind for me, and this kind of ties into one of the other questions you had in there, was like when you're talking to a potential customer or a potential member or even a current member. I assume it's okay to cuss on here. They do not give let it fly. They do not give a shit about your programming or your periodization, brother. Like they could care less, mostly because they don't know what the hell it is. But also like they're concerned with outcome, right? So learn all of your practical and technical knowledge is awesome. You need it. You shouldn't really open a gym, in my opinion, if you don't have it. But you need to start to switch it to, I chose a Zercher squat for you because of this benefit, your mobility restriction. How does this actually look like something you potentially do in real life if you want to kind of like pull on the functional quote unquote thread? Like viewing your service and what you do as a path to an outcome, as opposed to, well, let me regale you with all of the like intrinsic muscle actions in a Zercher. Like, dude, fuck off. Like I'm gonna go now. Yeah, that's where I would say it's like, it's just the X's and O's of training just do not matter to them.
Yeah, like you said, they matter in the same way. So to anybody's strength coach, it's like, well, wait a minute, Trent and Justin. Like, oh, okay, hold on. Let's just pump the brakes. Do any of us really care how the internet works and how we're able to have this conversation, or how my lights work and electricity?
Correct.
No, I know it does. I don't need the electrician to like, oh, hey, electrician, everything looks good, right? Like that is what we are to the athletes and to the people that we work with in the private setting. Like,
that's a great analogy. What? Yeah.
Like, Trent, you're my strength coach. Hey, you know what? My clothes fit a little bit better if I'm trying to lose weight. Or hey, you know what? That high school kid I was talking to you about, hey, I got stronger. I'm bigger. Thank you.
Yep. That's all they care about. They don't care that you chose close grip bench press as opposed to regular. Like, bro, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But when I was on Kier, back when Kier owned Strength Coach Network and I was a guest on the podcast, I was talking to him about like, I used to give I still do, but I was talking at the time at Towson where I gave the quarterbacks choices where like some people will say quarterbacks shouldn't barbell bench or they should only dumbbell. And like, so at different places I've been, there's different rules. And I was like, Well, I could make an argument that picking up heavy dumbbells is not safe.
Exactly, just as dangerous.
You know what I mean? Like in some quarterbacks, I had a meathead quarterback that liked to bench. So who am I to tell him no? And so I was like, listen, the way that I do with my quarterbacks, because they're essentially a baseball pitcher that has to get hit. If they want to bench, they bench. If they want a two board, they two board. If they want a Swiss bar, they Swiss bar. If they want a dumbbell, they dumbbell. I give them the parameters if it's a horizontal press, and then they figure it out. And he was like, yeah, I mean, the body doesn't the body's not like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to get stronger now because you did Swiss bar bench instead of a two board. Stress is stress, everybody. And
correct.
We just say this to understand, yes, there is importance in understanding your progressions and your regressions for your people, and understanding your reps and the percentages that should be accompanied with it. But you're going to push people away when you start diving into that minutia, because they're like, well, wait a minute, can this person actually help me lose weight and get me stronger?
Correct. And I think too, the other, you're kind of pulling at the thread too, is again, limited experience here in the public sector, quote unquote, but you are the master. What you say goes. In the private sector, right? You are, but they also are paying. They're your paycheck, so they leave because you're an asshole and you force them to do something that either hurts or they don't like. So removing that rigid mindset of I wrote the perfect program. I don't understand why you want to do alternating dumbbell bench press as opposed to dumbbell bench press. It's dude, just training is supposed to be fun for them. Because again, they're just adults. They just want to work out and look better naked. Get flexible. Let them, within the parameters of where you want them to go, what their outcome is, be flexible. But yeah, you didn't write the perfect program, man. I guarantee it.
The private. So when I was at Towson, I was doing kickboxing with my buddy Jesse, and we were talking about how he finally had to come up with a rule if you come up this late to class, you can't join class. If you're 15 minutes late, because the first 6 minutes of class was jump rope, then it was 2 rounds of shadow boxing. He's like, rule is if anybody shows up after the second round of shadow boxing, you're not allowed to participate in class. And I was like, boy, is that a stark difference between college S&C, where if you're fucking 30 seconds late, your ass is
if your shirt's untucked.
Right? Yeah. It's you're the biggest piece of shit. You don't care, right? And he's like, well, I mean, they're my paycheck. If people stop showing up, my gym closes. And I was like, that is such a fine line to walk of okay, we got to have some accountability and some discipline because adults and kids want it. But at the same time, all right, you got to learn to let some things slide.
And also this was the classic thing, because I played college sports for about as long as it takes to drink a cup of coffee. That is your job. I mean, you miss me with the student athlete bullshit. We can do a separate podcast about that. But that's your job when you're there. So you should be held to a pretty high standard. If someone pays, $200 a month to come to your gym and they train twice a week, you don't really have the room to be a stickler. You just don't. It's just not how it works. You're going to lose people. It's going to be a revolving door in your membership.
All right, so we've been talking a lot about business. What do most coaches underestimate about the business side? Because I'll tell you what, I didn't understand it. I mean, I got my foot in the door in strength conditioning in the private side. 2009, almost 20 years ago. So 18 years ago, I started in this journey, and I started private. And I got to see behind the scenes contracts, getting people signed up, all the things. Toilets not work, a lot of the
Hawken Dynamic is Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for force plates and for handheld dynamometers. Not only am I using it now in the private sector at Goldfinch, I was utilizing this software when I was back at Towson University. You're able to transport the plates because I've taken them from our private sector facility to our other locations. Also been able to take it from our private in-person location to the high school down the road to do some testing with athletes right then and there. You're able to pair your true strength with the striking difference machine. The people at Hawken are fantastic. The technology is second to none. You have to learn more about Hawken Dynamic in the link down below.
Yeah, right.
Right? And I talk about it in my textbook that's coming out, but you've lived it. I want to hear from you. What do most coaches underestimate with the business side when they go?
I'll tell you the one that I did, because this is probably what everybody does. It was like, okay, found a building. It's X amount of dollars a month. I plan on charging X for my membership. I need 50 members to break even. No. False. You're not paying your there's way more expenses than you would like ever really imagine. And sometimes more often than not, it's not like you have like 3 leases that you're paying. It's little nickel and dime things, or the toilet breaks and maybe your landlord's a dick and he doesn't want to pay for it. Well, that's on you now. Like you can't not have a toilet. It's A, illegal, and B, gross. But I think more specifically within the like, understanding expenses and like the what it actually takes to run a profitable business is like the whole like location is important, like where you actually are is, but the difficulty and the like nuance of like the real estate game. I think that's really, really challenging. Like, what type of space do you need? You need a bunch of space. You want a warehouse. You're going to do small group stuff, like max of 6 people at a time. You maybe like, do you want street frontage? Do you not want street? Like all those little things that because if you bought a house, you know some of this stuff, but more often than not, most people have never ever signed a commercial lease. That is, you can shoot yourself in the foot and set yourself for failure from day one if you're in the wrong type of location, if you're paying too much, if whatever, like the facility and location and building type, if you will, need to match who you're working with and what like your model kind of dictates. Because I think it's, when it was me, it was like, man, we had like it's like a 4,600 square foot it was big old space. It was way too big. And we signed a 5-year lease and we were kind of fucked.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, like, should we have signed a 5-year lease? Should we have done a 3-year? Should we have done like all of those little things, like all related to like where you are and what type of space you're in? I think that is easily underestimated. You just drive down the road, like that looks like a cool spot to put a gym. It's like, okay, well, there's a lot of stuff you need to know about that. What does parking look like? How many bathrooms are there? Does your note or your lease include like maintenance? Is the landlord responsible for upkeep of the parking lot? Or is that like all of these things is, very, very easy to overlook.
You think that's because people do we all, myself included, and I'm learning to be a lot better about it. The pastor at our church talked about it about 3 weeks ago, where we have that self-inflated opinion of ourselves. Is it because we have if we build it, they will come type mindset? Like, yeah, let's get this big ass building and everybody's going to come because, like we said off air, hey, people are just going to be flocking to give me money. Do you know who I am?
Correct. I would say that's almost certainly it, because it's just like, it usually, again, from my experience, it was like bigger is better, man. Like I can fit more people in here now, or I could run multiple classes at one time. Cool. Well, now you just hired a coach.
And you got to get people to stop doing whatever else they were doing to then fill your room and then pay you said money for the thing. You have to get,
or even harder, get from 0 to start.
Exactly.
I would argue that's potentially harder, because it's like, now it's a real steep sell. You're not just like, oh, cool, you already worked out, great, you're in. There's no onboarding cost, basically.
Yeah, it's not like, it's not, hey, okay, Trent, you work out at gym X, but come work out over my gym. It's better for you, and you da-da-da-da-da, versus like,
yep.
Okay, hey, Trent, you've never worked out. Now I got to try to get you to come to our class and do all these things where you've never done it unless you actually are intrinsically motivated. But anybody listening to this, like, be very weary of and Mike Widango talked about this on his episode, be very weary of if I build it, they will come. There's a reason it was from a movie, because it's the willing suspense of disbelief. It is a movie.
Correct.
Right? Like,
Yep. 100%. Easy trap.
Would you then say that was your first operational mistake, or like what would be the biggest operational mistake? Like, I mean, because hindsight's 2020. Like, man, hearing you say you signed a 5-year lease, like you probably were looking at lower rent for that reason. So I probably would have done the same exact thing. Like, all right, this gym's going to kick off. Give me the first 3 years of blood money. It'll be hard, but it's going to be worth it. Like, so I don't know if I'd call that your first operational failure. Like,
yeah, that was more just like I wouldn't even call it was just like, hindsight's 2020 type of thing. I don't think it was necessarily the first one. Like that wasn't the thing that necessarily, I don't know. I said that's what's going to set you up. The one that I think of immediately is charging too little, or like basing what you're charging off of the area that you're in. So I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and fitness in South Louisiana is not that important.
I was about to say, it's not like...
No, it's not. It's not the healthiest of states and cities, put it to you like that. So it's really easy to look around and see like, well, he charges 120, they charge 200. I'll split them. Let's just go 150 or 160. Okay. Well, like, do you have any like math or data to back up how 160 is going to actually work? Like, does that cover costs? Like, what's your revenue per session? Because, how many people are you going to get in the door at 160 a month? You're going to need to pack some bodies into each class. Like, I think that, and then you're like, well, I'm inexperienced. Like, I coached, but like, I've never run a business before. Like I'm not saying you need to be the most expensive, but I would say it's like, you need to have at least a pretty firm grasp of like the unit economics of, all right, I could project that I'm going to be on the hook for whatever amount a month. I can realistically fit this many people in a day, this many people in a month. How many coaches do all that shit? Cool. Back your way as close as you can into what you think you can charge and what you should charge. That people undercut themselves so many times, and then it's really painful to raise prices. Good God.
Especially
really
with people
painful.
That trusted you at the jump.
Yeah. Or, it's just anything. Doesn't matter. It's just really painful to raise prices because it's not like when TeamBuildr raises prices, like we just get nasty emails. You're going to see them MFers the next day and they're going to give you hell about it. So yeah, it's know your value and try to back it up with some math.
I think maybe people thought it was a throwaway comment when you talked about being in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, and you're like, oh, well, I can get you abs. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
nah,
they don't care versus, I remember, I think, again, Kier was talking about it in one of his courses, like selling personal training memberships in the Gulf Coast of Australia.
Powerlift is Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for exercise equipment. Made here in the USA, right down the road in the state of Iowa, Powerlift has the ability to customize whatever you need in your room, regardless of the sector of strength and conditioning. If you need a massive, big room, they have the ability to help you with that. If you're confined with space and you need to get creative, their reps are able to help you get what you need done and being able to get any customizations that you or your organization want with your logo on the equipment. Click the link down below to learn more about Powerlift, and if you have any questions about them, please feel free to reach out to us.
Like, they want to look good, right? Like that's
correct.
What matters to them. So again, strength coaches listening to this, if you're out there with the build that they will come mindset, like, you need to know the area and the demographic. Like, what are the number of gyms? What are they offering? And is it an area where they actually care if they look good, or you're putting a gym in a population where everybody's married and they don't care? Like,
yeah. And I think like, the devil's advocate point is like, well, if you're the first one, like, then you have first dibs or, one of the first few. So it's like, I'm not going to, it's not a 1 or 0 black and white type of thing, but it's something you need to keep in mind, like weigh that, because that might affect, right? If you're first in, you in theory can charge whatever you want, but everyone's going to be very, very, very price sensitive. Correct. Because they're like, well, the YMCA next door in the next city is $20 a month. You want to ask 200? That's an extra 0, right? Is that a typo? Like, that's the thing that you kind of have to keep in mind.
All right, then let's talk about those that do want to make it, because we're about 30 minutes in here. So if they're listening and they're in college or high school and they're thinking about going private, what is the first thing or things they should do before they ever go and actually make the jump?
The one I just talked about, like, well, maybe it's like kind of a deeper level. Yeah, a little bit. I would say even more like, do people ask you to do this outside of your profession. Like, hey, I know you coach high school football or, high school strength coach. Could you write me a workout? Like, do you have one person ask you to do that? Do you have 20 people that ask you to do that? Okay, maybe there's a demand, right? And maybe that warrants opening a business. If you just get fired up because you wrote workouts for two of your friends and you want to open a business now, like, man, go crazy. Like, I'm not going to tell you no, but like, it's going to be you're going to be shoveling some shit for a while. The other one is kind of back to this was what I was referencing to, like, I would call it sales skills, which everybody just immediately, I'm sure the skin starts to crawl. If I had any hair on my head, it would stand up on end. Exactly. Shut this shit off, dude. But I would frame it less of sales skills, more as like, know what you're actually offering. You're not offering training, but you are. That is the thing that you put on your door.
That's your vehicle.
Correct. You are offering transformation, whether it's physical or mental. And that, bring in another question that was in there, like, what else should you look at outside of just writing great training programs? Like, you turn into a bit of a therapist, right? You are, like, the analogy is always like you're like a salon, haircut stylist. You got an hour of people's time. There's dead time a lot of times in a lift or a training session. They're going to tell you all about their lives. So, like, learn the art of communicating what you do succinctly in a way that speaks to your customer. And that's typically like, what is the outcome? What results have I produced? They don't really care so much how. I mean, a little bit of that, right? But, methodology, like, is it CrossFit versus Iron Tribe versus, body weight only? Like, sure. But they don't care if it's 3 sets of 10 versus 6 sets of 5. That does not matter. Yeah.
Have you ever heard, to the truth telling, have you ever heard where somebody said, if you want to know if somebody committed a murder, talk to their hairstylist or their personal trainer?
Yes, because they'll tell them everything, 100%.
Everything. Like, there's vulnerability in, we're both two bald people. So anybody that's listening to this for the first time, like, I don't have hair, so I can't speak to it. But when I used to have hair and I would get my hair cut, like, yeah, there's something about somebody's cutting your hair. You don't see their face. You just feel like you can open up to them, right? And there's a friend of mine that works at the gym, and she mentors a 5th grade girl, and she'll just do her hair sometimes, and they talk, and that it's disarming. And also, when you're lifting weight and you're just kind of talking, it's kind of, you feel connected and you can talk to people. And for sure, I mean, any strength coach listening to this right now, that you've been a therapist countless number of times for your team sport athletes, and when you're involved with clients, adults, kids in the private setting, it's even more intimate.
It's like what I always chalked it up to was like, I'm close enough to know them. Like, I should know they're, like, if they're married, if they have kids, what they do for work. So you're close enough to have a personal relationship, but you're not so close where there's like baggage attached to every conversation. And baggage maybe isn't a great word, but like, it's like talking to your wife or your spouse about something. Like, there's a lot of underlying subtext that preceded that conversation. Yeah. When it's just your trainer, it's like, I can tell you whatever I want. Like, you might judge me, but like, there's no like weird resentment going on. Yeah. Like, you forgot to take the trash out earlier today, so now I'm going to be kind of snippy when I tell you about that's not a thing in the gym. So it's like the perfect Venn diagram.
You know me well enough that I don't have to
explain.
When I say the name of this person or when I went to this place, all the context, and I can just talk to you. Like,
yeah, exactly right. That's why people fall in love with their AI chatbots now, because it's a pretty similar thing. It's the same thing. You know me well enough, but I don't have to sleep in the same bed as you tonight. Yeah.
I was going to say something when you were talking about, talking about going and things that they need to do. There was something that I was like, man, I need to hit on that point.
Vitruve is the trusted VBT source for Strength Coach Network, and I have been utilizing this for years at Goldfinch, and I'm going to continue to utilize it because the great price for the encoder, as well as the accuracy with the data. Whether I'm measuring average, peak, or any other metric, if I want to include range of motion, fatigue loss during the set, intra-set, whatever it is, I can trust the truth. And they are continuing to push the needle and continuing to educate coaches on best practices within the VBT world. Not only do they live in that VBT world, but now they've come out with their new hub. And if you want to learn more about the hub and how it can help you with all of your athletes that you are working with, as we are starting to do this at Goldfinch for our middle school all the way up to college athletes, check them out in the link down below.
What were the things that you just said? Because I feel like it was a really
It's like
good
sales, like knowing how to
yes,
like,
okay,
yep.
sales. And everybody gets scared. So Allie Kirshner came on. This was over 3 years ago. Allie Kirshner, from when she was working with Brett Bartholomew, Art of Coaching.
Mhm.
She talked where same thing as you. She's like, everybody, any strength coach, they hear the word sales and they're instantly like, fuck you, and they like kind of just shut off, right? And she's like, every single one of us, because she used to be a strength coach, she's like, really, you think that athlete wants to squat 500 pounds or they want to go in condition at 6 a.m? You're selling, you just don't understand it because it's so baked into your job that you don't
Correct.
think you do it.
Yes. Every conversation, like every conversation, if you really think about it, is a sales conversation. Typically, you are trying to get your point across to somebody and have them either like take action on it or understand it. Like it's a sales conversation. The way I think about it, the word sales is just, it just has such bad connotation, but it's
because people have had, it's like
you get worked.
Else. They either got worked or had a bad experience. But if you look back into the financial collapse, there was bad actors in housing. If you watch The Wolf of Wall Street, there's bad actors in banking. It's everywhere, right? Like,
yes, I think but like how I try to frame it is you should almost like flip the relationship in your head. If you want to be like a great salesman, quote unquote, you should almost be trying to disqualify them to come to your facility to take your services. Like, ask a bunch of questions. Like, are you sure you're a good fit? Like, there's questions that like help. Cause then if they are a good fit, then it's easy, or not easy, but then you're helping them.
correct.
It's not cool. Great. Another member, another $200 in the bank account. It's, oh, Justin signed up, man. He's got really big goals. He needs my help. He's just going to pay me for it. It's less about like, I'm trying to change your mind. You're trying to, weed them out. Are they going to actually, or are they a good fit? Can you actually help them? Okay, cool. If you can, then it's no longer sales. It's just, okay, cool, man. Here's the plan. It's going to cost this much for me because like it requires time and effort and attention, and I have to keep the lights on.
Like,
yeah. So like, then it's no longer sales. It's just like, great, I'm offering paid help. That's it.
And like you said right there, I think that might be why some strength coaches from the team sport struggle in the private setting, because maybe they're actually not the best at writing programs, connecting with athletes. They can just, I got to try to coach your motivation. I'm a motivational coach versus like, no, you're like,
do you actually understand where they're coming from? Yeah.
Like, disqualify all of them where it's like, no, I'm not coaching effort. Let me just literally like coach your technique on this squat, or let me be the one that's writing your program to make sure that the sets, reps, and percentages match your goal. I'm not going to be hooting and hollering and trying to get like, yeah, sure. Okay. It's a heavy set. Let's get excited for it. But it's like, I'm not your cheerleader before every training session. Yes. I'll set the tone and have like the weight room will be organized, all the things we talked about being prepared. But like, I'm not your motivational speaker. Like, Trent, come on in. Remember your why. Discipline is remembering your why long after you said it.
Slap the billboard. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, cut the shit. Like, no.
And I think also too, it's probably just a skill, that like disqualification, vetting process. Like, I imagine most high school coaches and college coaches, you're not doing that. Like you don't, that's not a luxury you have. You are stuck with that person. Yeah. And so then you end up having to resort to the quote unquote motivational tactics when you have the choice to work with someone or not. Then you get into like murky waters where you feel like you have to get them maybe, but in fact, you should be doing the opposite. Like, how can I make sure this is actually a fit?
Speaking of fit, I think this next question is kind of personal for our coaches out there. It'll be a real good one. Biggest emotional or identity shift that coaches struggle with that you've seen, whether you've helped onboard people through OS or whatever, if they, maybe in the same way they feel comfortable as the coach to talk to their rep, because they've like, now they're disarmed and they're willing to talk to you, like, man, I never thought it'd be this. Like, what are those emotional or identity shift things that they struggle with?
I read this one. I was like, man, I don't know if I have a good answer for this. I think it's something like I don't know how to describe it. Like there's very instant feedback, right? When you're coaching a sport athlete at a school or a college, there is a very clear end goal, or there's a very clear test that they're training for. When you're training a 33-year-old bozo like me, who's just like, I just kind of want to like not be a sad sack, like there is no test really. So like you don't get that dopamine hit of like, hell yeah, there's a W. We beat the other team today. That is sometimes really tough to figure out, like, why the hell am I doing this? No one seems to be getting better. Everyone bitches because I put Bulgarian split squats in for this cycle. That's the part I've struggled with that personally, even with my like very minimal experience in the public sector. Was it's like, why am I doing this? Like these people just bitch at me, and I work 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. At the time I had a 1.5, 2-year-old that I saw for 45 minutes a day. Like, why the hell am I doing this? And maybe that's it, honestly, just long. I mean, strength coaches nowadays work pretty long hours, so that's not abnormal, but like, yeah, combining the fact that you work shit hours and you're the only person responsible for everything, and sometimes people just bitch the whole time.
Dasher Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for timing gates for your athletes. Whether you're trying to run A-cells, curve, flies, change in direction with the Pro Agility, the 505, modified 505, whatever you want to do, get valid and reliable setup with your Dasher. I had the black, the blue, and now we have the silver at Goldfinch. We're completely moving over from the blues to just only having the silvers. I only test my athletes on the silvers because it has helped me save so much time, whether I'm going from Ankeny over to Nevada or Ankeny over to Huxley, whatever I got to do. I save so much time, and I want you to be able to save so much time with your setup, because we know that time is precious as strength coaches. Now, not only are you going to be able to save time, but you're going to be able to save money with this great product, and you have a valid and reliable product that has run through countless different articles, as you continue to see online being published with the accuracy of this information. So, if you want to learn more about Dasher, click the link down below to be able to go to their website and learn more about them.
I think one of the biggest emotional things would be the fact that coaches, they wrap their identity up in, hey, I'm a strength coach at, like, I know for me it was like I didn't have a good foundation of this is my identity. It was, hey, I am the head strength coach at this place. These athletes are my kids. I am that dial.
Correct.
And maybe strength coaches listening to this, that was not your reality. I think in our service-based industry, with as little as we get paid and as much as we care about it and have our heart on our sleeves, that's who we're talking to right now. And so I think their identity is built into that. And then now you are more of just like, you are just a transaction in the college setting. Let's call it what it is. Like that's why they get rid of you. And it's, I mean, I had a conversation with a guy. He's a head strength coach. He cares a lot. The guy, listen to this, was told, hey, and then given, was like, hey, you know, over $300,000 in donations to your department. Like, here's the thank you cards. Here's who you're going to write them to. So he follows up like, okay, oh no, sorry, that was a mistake. You don't have that money. What?
Oops.
Right. And then all this multiple just like little backstabbing things that happened to him. And I was like, dude, like at some point, like they're just taking advantage of you. Like you are just a number. They don't really care about you. And I go, so I'm saying this to make you understand. They're not personally attacking you. Insert name of anybody else. They'd be doing the same thing to you. They don't care about you. It's just a transaction. And you go from this world where you feel, and you're almost lied to, that you are that important. You care about your athletes, yes, but the people above you don't care about you, the ones writing the checks. Versus, no, now you go into a real transactional world where it's like, hey, I need you to help me just get better. And yes, let's have a relationship, but like, no, like you are just my strength coach. You're my trainer or whatever.
Yes. And that's where it's like back to that, like, you know, you're in that weird gray area between like spouse and really good friend and complete stranger.
Yes.
they're probably not going to text you on a Friday and just like, yo, you want to get a beer? Like that's probably not going to happen, and questionably borderline inappropriate at times.
Yeah.
But that's it's a great point. Great point.
Yeah, because like there's the familiarity. Like, all right, I see you 3 times a week or 4 times a week, but it's really only for either 3 to 4 hours a week, right? Like
in one setting too.
Correct.
Like it's not like you're at the grocery.
Like you literally only see me probably in the same clothes because I wear the same thing every day.
Yep. Shirt and either joggers or shorts, something like that. Yeah.
What about money-wise? What would you think is a realistic timeline to feel comfortable? Like, all right, hey, I made the switch. I did it. When am I going to stop feeling absolute paranoia about paying the bills?
If you're like me, it was never, because it was just always. I struggle to put like a timeline on it, but like the like joking metric I came up with was when you don't wake up in the morning and the first thing you do on your phone is open your banking app. Where am I at? All right, good. It's black. Hell yeah, we're doing all right. I think maybe like if I could maybe reframe it and just remove the like financially stable piece and maybe more global, like just like when you feel stable is, again, depending on how you want to run your business, but like if you can remove yourself, can you take a 1 week vacation? It's a hard stop, full stop. Can you go for a week and either not lose members or not just have to shut the shit down because you're the only coach? I think that is when you've built something that can last. You can build something that you could potentially sell if you ever want to exit. I mean, that we could do a whole podcast on that. Just like, what's the end game here, dude? Are you going to coach till you're 65? Good. You're going to run a business run a gym business till you're 65? Coaching classes? Okay. No, you're not.
I mean, I'll take that as further. You could do that in college?
Yeah, exactly. So like, I think that's where I would frame it as like, if you remove yourself, will this thing still be there when you get back in the same shape that you left it? Then you are firing on all cylinders. I mean, and money probably at that point is not a concern.
No, and that's something that Hewitt's talked about on LinkedIn before, where he's like, you know, got back from his paternity leave again, or like, hey, took a sabbatical, and it's like, oh, you know, all those things I thought were so important. Now it puts everybody that he had put strategically in positions to be, you know, SVP of this or this, that. And it's like, oh, hey, look, everything's still running. Like, I'm not like, because guess what? I'm going to be eventually passing on. And at Doyle at Iowa, he always, his joke was, he'd put somebody in charge of one thing, and then there was somebody on staff was like the backup person for it that had to know how to do it. And the way he always said it, he's like, well, if so-and-so gets hit by a bus, we have to make sure everything keeps going and running. And it's like, sure, like if that's the way you want to call it, but he's not wrong. Like, yeah, you know, because at the end of the day, the business has I understood.
You can't just stop.
Yeah. I worked for Chris Doyle, who worked for Kirk Ferentz, and we happened to be at the University of Iowa. I'm not a sure, on paper, I'm a University of Iowa employee, but if KF stops winning games or Iowa stops winning games, KF is gone. X-nay, oops-nay, I'm gone. Like,
correct.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be able to put those systems in place. And so, yes, I would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Whoa. Team sport coaches. Ooh. Buy-in is usually automatic for most team sport coaches. We did kind of talk about this before, but, you know, parents, athletes, when now maybe you're trying to generate buy-in, like I would just say try to teach coaches and their parents and kids, like you're not there to do that.
Player Data is Strength Coach Network's trusted provider for GPS technology, and it's simple. The price you cannot beat, and the validity and accuracy of their technology is second to none. The price is outstanding. Go ahead and reach out to them to learn more about the pricing specific to you and however many units you're going to get. And then the validity. Player Data has been tested and run through FIFA's validation process for FIFA to then be utilizing Player Data technology. FIFA, we all know that name. They would not be utilizing a product that cannot live up to the competition and cannot be able to provide real, live, and accurate data. Player Data is able to do this. Not only do they have great software and hardware, but I know that the customer service is fantastic because I have worked with these individuals before. Click the link down below to learn more about Player Data.
But maybe you have a better answer than that.
So you should like how to like Should I have to coach buy-in?
Do you have to coach effort? Try to create buy-in. What are your thoughts on it? Because like if you can just avoid it and try to be like you said, if you can try to disqualify as many people up front and be like, hey, I'm not here to motivate you and like give you the rah-rah speech. Like there's not going to be a whole lot of talking in between this 60-minute session because you got a lot of goals and things you want to get done. So sure, there's some dead time where we can chit chat, but we got to get to work.
Yeah, I think it's like classic. It depends. So this is where it kind of goes from like, cool, you are a salesperson, like you need to be good at that, but then also you need to just be like a really good human and be a good communicator. No matter how dedicated a client is, they are going to go through troughs. There's going to be a slump where they're going to need a boost, and maybe that is buy-in. So I think it needs to be something that you can do. But if you're having to do it to get someone in the door to start, then it's like all right, you need to reevaluate if they're even a good fit. And then if you're really that desperate for clients, then like maybe we have a different conversation probably.
That's a really good point because it's not necessarily you having to motivate them. It's how often you're having to motivate and get said people going.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I can wrap my head around that one. How should private coaches think about delivering value? So we did talk about that, like delivering value, because nobody really cares about that.
Yeah.
All right. What systems then? Okay, we did talk about systems. What systems do help coaches actually grow? What are some systems that are scalable, things that matter? Obviously, TeamBuildr OS. Like,
sure.
What are those things? What is OS for anybody that is unfamiliar?
Yeah. So OS is like, call it our member management platform, gym management platform. I don't know. It's got 1,000 different words, but it's basically the thing that I would highly recommend if you have a gym business that you don't want to be chasing people down for money every week, having to handle text message reservations, people saying, hey, I'm coming at 5 a.m. tomorrow, like none of that stuff. So like at a base level, you need to have some kind of system that handles all of your billing, whether that is a recurring model or something where it is like a la carte buy. Cool, I bought a 3-month agreement, a 6-month agreement. So some kind of like professional gateway, for lack of a better term. To give you an example of like how it ideally doesn't look, like if you're sending Venmo requests or Zelle requests, like it can work, sure, but like I would ask the question, like, are you serious about this, or is this just like a hobby? If it's a hobby, cool, man, I don't care. But if you are serious about this as a business, you need to have some kind of professional looking gateway that not only looks good, but actually works well and then alerts you when payments fail, allows you to create new memberships and send off invoices, has some kind of portal where members can book themselves into something, as opposed to just like you got a WhatsApp group and people chime in, or you say, respond to this message if you're coming tomorrow. Like I would almost say that's like a non-starter. That's a non-starter. The one that comes to mind for me ties into that, like, can you walk away for a week and come back, is like coach development at like a high level. But I think more specifically, and maybe this is just because something I was not great at because I just kind of assumed everyone thought like I did, is like, I don't want to say auditing your coaches, but auditing your coaches. Like, do you take your own sessions? Like, you don't necessarily have to take them. That's fine. Like, do you sit in and watch them? Do you get feedback from members when they walk out? Say, cool, how did it go? What went well? Did you feel like something, you needed help and you didn't get it? Having a thumb on the pulse of how your staff, if you have one, is doing is paramount. I say that, easier said than done though. Developing staff is so like if you're really doing it right, you now turn into like not only a business owner and a coach, you're now a teacher that has to write curriculum and create some kind of like assessment criteria for, do they grasp this and can they display ownership of the material? I think, outside of the non-starter stuff we talked about with business ops, staff development is something that I would try to start from the first day. Well, probably before you even ever have a coach in your door. If you're starting to entertain the idea of having a contractor or a W-2 employee, have some kind of development plan in mind for them, because it's if they're not that great and you're just like, they're fine, nobody quits. So people gripe every now and then because they say the wrong exercise or they kind of shoot the shit instead of coaching. It's too late. It's too late. People have already started to waver and thinking about canceling. Really, really hard to do though. So take that for what it's worth.
That's really good advice. And like you said, I feel like most of the people that make the switch, they're like, oh yeah, I've Venmo'd some people, that's kind of where it starts. And then they think that they can just, what got me here, they can keep doing it to get me where they want to go.
Correct. Yeah, it's just it's just really, really hard. And like I said, in my opinion, it's unprofessional. It's just, for that, or man, it just leaves you open to so much stuff. There's no way, at least that I know, within Zelle and Venmo to you can nudge them, I think, in Venmo. You can basically nudge the request. But with OS, get the nuts and bolts of it, it's stored credit card information, obviously securely stored and all that crap. You can send them an email and say, hey, you've got an overdue invoice. Do you mind if I try charging your card? Oh, hey, I see it's overdue. The message I got back says that this card's expired. I'm going to send you a link to put a new one in. Takes 10 seconds, goes straight to their inbox. Little things like that. It's basically just your insurance policy to make sure that you're getting paid for the services you're offering. Yes. And, it may feel cool and colloquial because you're man, I'm chill. I'll just send you a Venmo request. People don't want chill. You might think it's cool to be relaxed, but it's not. People want professional. They want to feel like what the fuck you're doing if they're going to pay you money. That doesn't send the message you think it sends.
It probably also is what leads coaches to work more hours than they should or supposed to, because now they're, instead of doing things they're supposed to do, they're backtracking and trying to figure out, oh, wait a minute, I needed to get this. They paid it. Now they're not, their hours are not being spent properly.
And you know what I never signed up for when I opened a business was being a tax collector. No, that's the last thing I want to do. I love writing programs. I love coaching. I love chatting people. I love working on the business and stuff like that. The last thing I want to do is start hounding people for money. That is what leads to burnout. Doing all the shit, the things, you're always going to have to do stuff you don't want to do. That's just, sorry, bro. That's how in any job, doesn't matter if you own the thing or just work in it. But if the ratio of shit that you don't want to do starts to creep into things that take the room up for things you like to do, that's when burnout happens and things really go off the rails.
What would be the things then you think of those shitty jobs and tasks? What would be the first coaches should get off their plate? A, to avoid burnout. B, because, hey, it's not the best ROI on your time.
You did hit on a big one, automating and helping your financial transaction piece. Look into that as you will. This seems maybe this isn't really the right answer per se. It's not necessarily a system or a thing to get off your chest. It kind of is. I would try to find a mentor, as soon as you can. I ran a gym for 8.5, almost 9 years. I didn't get a mentor until 6.5 years in, and it was too late. Basically, I started paying him to help me start closing this down gracefully. So in a way that does take stuff off of you because it's mental load. You can bounce ideas off of them. They can make sure they can tell you what you need to be looking for, as opposed to I'm looking at, I look at all these articles and shit that I read on Facebook and these gym owner groups, and they tell me I need to be looking at XYZ. Well, this guy can intimately know or girl can intimately know my business. tell me what I need to be doing, can hit me up and make sure I'm like checking off the boxes and hitting KPIs. I think that's where I would push people, is like alleviate yourself the stress of not setting your North Star, but like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like there's so much noise about there. Like, what's the most important metric? Pay someone to help you figure that out, because it's really, really hard.
And it's going to be context dependent upon your clientele, where you work, everything about you.
Exactly. Yeah. The people writing those articles, it's in good spirits. They mean well, but they also don't know, they're not writing that for everyone. There's a specific niche or vertical that they're probably writing that for. And if you're just outside of it or parallel, it probably won't apply. And then you're going to be chasing a rabbit that doesn't actually help you.
An analogy I just thought of is like, yeah, sure, you want to go to an ankle surgeon to help with an ankle injury, not a shoulder specialist. Sure, he could do it, but it's not going to be as good. In every foot surgery, they would say there are subtle differences based off of the anatomy of you, how bad the tissue is. Like every foot surgery is not the same for that foot surgeon. So let that business consultant, whoever it is, use their expertise, but understand that they're there to then serve you ultimately.
Yep. And like, yeah, I use the word mentor kind of loosely. Like it could be anybody. It could be someone who specializes in gym businesses. Obviously, like that's probably where I would push you, because gym businesses are weird. Like it's just a weird business. But like it can be anybody who has any kind of acumen when it comes to running their own business. They should be able to at least get a grasp on what you do, what's important, what should you be working on, what your vision is and how do you get there. Having someone in your corner to help you do that is, yeah. If I could go back, I would change that quickly. Day one, have someone who's I meet with every week, every month, whatever it is, help me figure out what the hell I'm doing.
Would that be one of the things then that a well-run facility looks like? It's like, okay, hey, you're teaching classes, and then now that frees me up to go meet with my mentor. What certain positions of coaches and people at let's call it a small, a medium, and a large size private sector gym, what do those three scenarios look like for coaches that are living in it or trying to create it?
And there's a couple ways I would go. I think the one that always, again, can you leave? Can you take a break? And the thing is fine when you come back. So I won't touch on that one too much. I would say, man, I don't know. I don't have like a great, just the vibes, man. It's more, okay, here's a good one. How comfortable are you, and I think this applies to any of them, small, medium, large, and maybe especially small. How comfortable are you asking members to give you names of friends to bring to contact? If you're not comfortable asking for that, that's a problem. Or if they're not comfortable giving you names, potentially even bigger problem. If it's a well-run facility that has a repeatable experience, whether it's Trent or Justin or Timmy running the session, then they'll be offering you names before you even ask, hopefully. I think that would be like one that kind of jumps out. The other one, I think maybe this is like a little bit kind of like looking through the, viewing it through a tube. Like, what does your turnover look like? Like, what does your churn and retention look like? Maybe you're a great salesman, right? You bring in 10 people every month. Sick. You lose 9 every month. Well, that's really, really expensive. You may be gaining a member every month, but it's really, really expensive to bring new people on, because maybe you have an onboarding process. It requires, 3 1-hour personal training sessions that you got to pay the coach out. And then now they're finally getting into classes. I think those are the two. Like, how comfortable are you asking for referrals, or are people bringing you them? And then what does your turnover look like? That's applicable across all of them. It should be.
Is that something? So the questions that we have here at the end to wrap it up would be: you're technically somebody that would be a long-term career, right? Like you said, 9.5. Like that's long term.
Pretty long.
So those that last that long, what's the difference between those that can do it versus those that flame out? Was it putting the systems in process longer? Was it luck? We know it depends, but generally,
You're too stupid to know when to quit.
hey, you know what? But there
Maybe
is
that's a piece
that,
of it. Yes,
right? Like
there's
that,
a piece to that. Yeah,
you know, because it's
and
not just. I read it in this book that I'm reading right now, where it was talking about, your ambition and like the hustle, work hard. It's not like, oh, find a job and you'll never work a day in your life. It's no, like apply that ambition to, all right, I love this job. I'm going to push through the suck because I'm bringing my ambition with me.
Yeah. Hewitt and I did a little bit a couple weeks ago about like how oftentimes when you open a small business, you're probably like a little bit insane because of just the crap you have to put up with. But for people, for like people that make it long term, I honestly, I mean, there's obviously like business processes that like you need to have. I think the first thing I would think about is more of like an attitude thing, like, and hopefully everyone that's listening to this probably already has this, but like you need to have, call it a servant's heart, or you just need to love to teach. Like you have to love to teach. If you more enjoy like the writing the programs and, analyzing the spreadsheets, if you're a numbers guy or girl, like that's great. It's going to get really, really tough probably really quickly. And then if you don't enjoy the actual on the floor product and teaching people how to do a power clean, then like it's going to be really hard to make it 2 years. Outside of that, man, again, I think it's the last question is like, do you have a member base or customer base that is like bringing you people or willing to bring you people? Because there is always going to be people move away. Like I live in Baton Rouge, it's very transient, like because a lot of Exxon people are here. So you get the Houston to Baton Rouge experience a lot of times. People are going to leave, man, or people are just going to like change their tastes. That's just how shit goes. You're not going to have everybody forever. So if you have like a steady influx of people that are willing to bring someone because you don't have to pay as $1 of marketing money to get them in the door, that is probably what's going to get you to that decade, hopefully longer, of running your business. That's why TeamBuildr has done it really well, because like a lot of it's word of mouth.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, obviously now it's a beast, but yeah.
I mean, I remember Hewitt was like hustling. I mean, that was also because he was in the Maryland area. But I remember in 2018 when I first heard about it, he was at the Colonial Athletic Association, which is the CAA. We had our own health and safety summit for athletic trainers for the longest time, and then strength coaches like finally got invited in 2018, and so it was like ATs and medical, they had their own meeting, and then strength coaches had ours. And Mike Rankin over at Drexel had Hewitt, because Mike was like one of the head strength, was in charge of this summit, and he had Hewitt there, and Hewitt was talking like, hey, this is a way, like, not only get TeamBuildr to, help you and your athletes out, but it's a way to then bring in some money to your department, because alumni, let's say they had graduated, they had a great experience with you, and now they want to give back. Well, now they can give back directly to the weight room. We'll give you, if you have TeamBuildr, we'll give you a TeamBuildr alumni account for free, and now you can start charging your alumni. Instead of them paying $30 a month to somebody else, let them pay it back to their school. You can use that money to buy equipment or pay your low-level staff extra money. But like getting back to you said, not spending marketing money. Like he's talked ad nauseum about, saving money and driving in a van, or, just going out there and putting in the sweat equity versus, the capital paying the Google ad machine, for lack of a better term.
And like I didn't mention the word like hustle or drive. Like I talk about, you need to love teaching. I almost like that's like table stakes for me. Like you got to be willing to eat some shit, like long days, little pay. Like not to discredit anything you just said, he would absolutely hustle his nuts off. But like, if you don't have that intrinsically or have this like, for me, it was this anxiety of like not meeting my members' expectations, which I assumed were very high. That is just part and parcel, man. Like if you don't have that, then it's just not going to work base case. So I assume you have that, then it's cool. You need to love specifically teaching and then, all that stuff.
What's one metric that our private coaches right now are not measuring that they should?
Ooh. Man, this was one it's hyped up. I don't know. I don't follow as many of the gym gurus as I used to when I was running the gym. I always thought the idea of like knowing how much money you're actually making in each session. So that goes two ways, right? Like how much does it cost you to run that session? Overhead, the lights, the air, all of that. And then how much are you getting on a per person basis? And then what's the net? Because if those don't make sense, then the rest, the business was built on sand and mud.
We know how that works out.
Yeah, super well.
All right, 4 questions here at the end, rapid fire.
Hit me.
Mistake you'd never repeat as a gym owner.
Kind of hit on the one, not getting a mentor till I was basically ready to close. This was one kind of, I thought of it as we were talking about something else. Adding every single service that a member asked for. I want to do like kind of like a boot campy type of service that's like a little less barbell, a little more dumbbells. Cool. All right. Perfect. Let me stay in this. One person fucking came. Adding a class. Hey, I know you have a 6 a.m. and a 7 a.m., but like, I would love to do like a 9 a.m. after I drop my kids, get to go home, eat breakfast, and come back. Cool, I'll add it. One fucking person. Just know what you do. Be very hesitant to add things.
This is not rapid fire now, but it's like, how do you okay, we're going to test it. We're going to do this for 3 weeks to see if anybody shows up. And if not,
There's nothing wrong with experimenting. Like you could that's a conversation. Like, hey,
too. Maybe it's like, hey, heard this. Would anybody else be interested?
But I got news for you. Those are about as worthless as the paper they're printed on. Yeah. I mean, everybody was like, hell yeah, 9 a.m. would be sick. Yeah. And then life happens and they're like, no, I can't actually make that. I just thought it'd be cool.
Sound good.
Thanks for saying yes, then ass clown. Yeah.
What's the harder transition, from coach to owner or team sports into private?
I'm biased. Coach to owner, I would say, just because like you don't really know how the sausage is made. You just see like, I know this software costs this much a month and we have this many members that pay this. Still must be raking it in. No. False. False. Yeah. Yeah.
One thing private coaches overcomplicate.
Ooh. So we talked about all like automating your financial recollection, blah, blah, blah. The pendulum is swinging really, really, really far into automate everything. Yes. Have a chat bot to handle your leads that come in. Like, man, I got news. If you get 30 leads a month, first off, you're an outlier probably for a gym. Then maybe you can have some kind of automation that handles lead intake. You should be the one answering the emails and the text messages and the phone calls. You need something that just like, dude. Like, so that's kind of like our thesis is like, we're going to do all the shit you absolutely have to have. And then we'll build ways if you do want to get jiggy with it and get into the weeds where you can connect services to OS and things like that. But like, man, do not overcomplicate your tech stack. Make it simple. Yeah, it's crazy.
Last question. Who's a better golfer, you or Jake?
I saw this one on there. Man, we're pretty close. Depends on the day. I would say it's a tie. It's a tie. He just had his first kid. His daughter's about to turn 1 in like 2 months. So neither of us play a whole lot of golf anymore. But yeah, it's a pretty close fight. I'll say this, Hewitt, if you're listening. Last time I played Hewitt, I beat him. So taste it. Love you, Hewitt. Please don't fire me.
Oh, that's amazing. There's no better place to wrap it up. Trent, I appreciate you for coming on the show, brother.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.